So I'm gonna be helping out a buddy do up his KWA T10. We're gonna be throwing in a Gate Titan, some 14-to-1 Siege Tech triggers, a Warhead 36K motor, 36K, right?
Yeah.
36K motor, brushless, and then obviously all the barrel, the inner barrel, the hop unit, all that craziness. So we're gonna put this together, take it apart, put it together, and then see how it shoots. We're here, gearbox is opened up, and we're gonna be throwing all the parts into it. So it's a Max ported double O-ring piston head, Max double O-ring cylinder head, Max 21.25 millimeter nozzle, SHS lightened piston with the second tooth removed, second to last tooth removed, and then a 250 to 300 millimeter Max cylinder. Yeah.
And you need...
So these Max nozzles come with a double O-ring inside of them. You can't really see them, but they are in there. Mm-hmm. These O-rings that are in here are super thin, so when you get them brand new, if you try to check for air seal, it's gonna leak. It's gonna leak somewhere in the system. It's a flaw in the design. Luckily, for a T10 specifically, there is an O-ring that comes on the stock nozzle.
Yeah.
And tap it. Oh, where's that nozzle at? What happened to it?
Okay.
Yeah. Where's my flashlight? Every single freaking time.
Right there. The mag.
Oh, there it is. Right. So this little groove right here in the nozzle has an O-ring in it. If you have a T10, you can just pull that O-ring out, take out one of these O-rings, the back O-ring from the nozzle, and replace it with the O-ring that comes in the stock nozzle, and air seal is good. If you don't have that and you pick up a Max nozzle with the double O-rings in it, I would recommend also picking up a set of somewhat small, thicker than this one if possible, O-rings, just to make sure that you can get the air seal that you want out of your system. Just something to keep in mind. Gearbox for the T10 has been emptied, or opened and emptied. I have heard from several people that a Gate Titan will not fit into a KWA gearbox without modifications, and I'm about to prove them wrong. Right? We've done absolutely nothing to this gearbox. It's out of the box. You can tell there's been no dremmeling anywhere. We pull out the trigger contacts, and look at this. Boom, drops right in. No modifications needed whatsoever, right? That's the one side, and here's where the other side goes, right? Oh, it's got this little thing here. So this little pad will keep this side raised up, but as you can see there, obviously, no modifications needed. KWA warranty sticker, kind of moot now since we opened it up. But there, no modifications needed whatsoever. Now the other thing, if you have an older KWA T10, if I can find the safety plate, what did I do with it? There it is. All right, the sticker that you use for the Titan to sense what position the safety selector switch is in, it would end up peeling off because as this was moving back and forth, it would make contact with this hard edge here, and it would end up peeling the sticker off. It's this edge here on the gearbox. You can see I've already rounded off a little portion of it, but if you don't round that out, and you can see here on this one, the sticker started lifting from the bottom right hand corner. Obviously you don't want that to happen because it'll ruin your sticker and it'll make it so that your gate can't work, but this edge right here, this entire edge, needs to be rounded off for the sticker to stay on properly. So we're gonna do the motor height adjustment. I'm gonna show you how I do it. This is the way that's worked out the best for me, and it's given me the best results. And as far as there's no grinding anywhere, the motor isn't being overworked. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the right side of your gearbox, you're gonna drop your bevel gear into it, you're gonna put your grip onto the gearbox, and you're gonna close it up. So you're gonna screw it on, put the motor in there without any wires or cables or anything, and then you're gonna close the motor height cap. Use some Loctite on your motor height screw just so that it doesn't start coming loose over time and messing up your height settings. But when I first started playing, dude, I sucked so fucking hard. Even though I had like military training and everything,
Yeah.
I sucked so hard.
This is different, right?
Oh yeah, it's different. I don't know how well this is gonna capture what I'm trying to show. So I don't know if it's possible to see in the video, but you can see here that they are making contact, but the bevel gear, I'm sorry, the pinion gear is a little too low. What you want to see, and again, I really hope that the camera is capturing this, but what you want to see is the bottom edge of the pinion gear making contact or being flush with the outer edge here of the bevel gear, right? And that's where I've had the best performance out of my systems, out of my builds, is again, like I said, the bottom edge of your pinion gear should be flush with the outer edge of your bevel gear. So at this point, all you're gonna do is you're gonna put in your motor height screw and just start tightening it until you get them to be where they need to be. I found out that this little hole right here where the Titan screw is supposed to go into, right here on this T10 box, isn't threaded, but the material of the gearbox is soft enough that you can just force a screw in there and you'll be able to get your Titan in there without a problem. It took me a while to figure out because I was confused about why there was no threads in that hole. And I tried 3 different screws, the one that comes with the Titan and a couple of screws that we pulled off in the gearbox itself. But just keep that in mind. If there's no threads in there on a T10, just force a screw in there. It'll work. And use some Loctite when you put it in there to make sure it stays in place. Alright, so the T10 has been fully assembled with everything new that was installed. With the exception of the upper receiver that's sitting elsewhere right now. I'm just doing up some final settings on the control station here. For anybody that's curious about what all exactly went into this, it has a Gate Titan basic unit in there. It has a Speedsoft adjustable trigger. It has 14:1 Siege Tech gears. It has the Warhead motor 36K, which is, I believe, is what they call the high speed. The high speed. There we go. So the Warhead high speed 36K motor. I showed earlier in the video that we did a max nozzle, max cylinder, max nozzle, or I'm sorry, piston head, max cylinder head, and the SHS cylinder or piston. I'm sorry, the SHS piston, and then on top of that, we put in the proprietary tappet plate that KWA makes, but it fits V2 nozzles. So these cost about $12 on the website. Just Google KWA tappet plate number 325 and you should be able to find them pretty easy. He's running this on a Titan Power 3000 milliamp 11.1 volt. And then for the barrel assembly, it's got a 300 millimeter PDI 6.01 Type bore barrel, and he has a Max ME Pro hop unit with a maple leaf 60-degree super macaron bucking and the hollow type nub. So it's pretty much everything that went in here. Shimming was a pain in the ass. We've been working on this for like 5 hours, but I'm super excited to run it through the chrono and see where it's at right now. So I'd mentioned in a previous video that these will fit, but they're a little tricky. If you put this into the upper receiver and then try to slot it on, it's not going to fit because, well, sorry, because this bottom section right here is too fat to make it through this, so you'll get stuck like this. So with this, what you have to do is angle it upwards, and then with the edge, with the rim here, push the nozzle in, and that'll let it slip in, and then you have to slide the upper on afterwards. the only way that I've been able to get these on there, but they will work. Boom, all in one piece. Well, almost. All right, so my friend and I, the one who asked me to help him build the KWA T10, finished putting it together the same night that we were working on it. It was a relatively long job. I think it took us about 7 hours from start to finish, roughly, to get it all done. We chronoed it here at my place to see what it was shooting, you know, because obviously that's kind of important when you do upgrades on a gun. Something was wrong with it. It was shooting like 45 FPS with 3.0s, which is nothing. Okay, that was weird. Something's not right.
What the fuck?
So we opened it back up, try to find the problem, close it back up, and this is part of the process that took a long time, in which why we were working on it for almost 7 hours. But we opened it back up, try to find the problem. Everything was fine. The air seal test was good. The nozzle was meeting the hop just right. You know, there wasn't any logical explanation for what was going on and why it was shooting so low. So we closed the box up, we put a magazine in it, you know, we get ready to test fire it again. And then I start shooting it into my target that I have, and it works. It's fine. I didn't chrono it that time just because I was testing to see more whether or not it would shoot properly instead of how hard it was shooting, right? But the speed definitely went up. It was well over 300, well, not well over, but it was at least 300 FPS. And then it jammed up. It has a gate tighten in it, and the code that it was throwing said that the sector gear couldn't be sector gear not detected is what it said. So we open up the gearbox again, we look at it. There's no logical reason why this should be happening again. We looked at the sector gear. It's got Siege Tech gears in it, so they're, at least I would hope that they wouldn't break after, you know, 50, 60 rounds going through it. Gears are fine. The Titan's fine. The sensors aren't damaged. The sensors aren't covered with anything. So we close back up and try shooting it again. And it's shooting 45 FPS again. At that point, it was kind of late. So I was just like, you know what, man, just let's stop here right now. We'll try to figure it out another time. So he takes it home with him because it's his gun. And the next day he messages me when he gets out of work and he says, hey, I'm about to open up my gun and see if I can find out what's going on with it. You know, is there anything that you think I should check? I gave him some tips, see if that was it. You know, we spoke via messages for a little bit. He sent me some pictures of what he was doing. And then I was like, you know what, this is gonna take too long. I'm just gonna come over and help you out over there. So I come over to his house. I help him. I re-shimmed his gearbox myself because the first time that we shimmed it, I actually just walked him through the steps and he shimmed it himself. So I re-shimmed the gearbox. I test everything again. You know, I test the air seal. I look at the piston, the nozzle, all that stuff for any kind of damage. I checked the hop as well. I looked at the Titan to make sure that none of the sensors were damaged in any way, shape, or form. Close up the gearbox, test fire it without the upper being on it. It's shooting and cycling perfectly. Everything looks good. Put the rest of it back on, take it out to his garage, and we start shooting it. I'm like, cool, perfect, right? We chrono it, and it's shooting 265 FPS, I think, which is not very good. It's like 0.9 joules. It's really low. Right? So I recommend him to pick up an M120 and an M130 spring to see what that would do. And he does so, and we chrono it again. This time, it's shooting 305 FPS on 0.28, which is getting better, right? So now we've gone from 45 FPS on 3.0s to 265 FPS on 3.0s to now we're at 305 FPS, but on 2.8s, right? Which is still really good. You know, if you do the conversion between 2.8s and 2.0s, on 2.0s, they'd be shooting around 360, 365. So we're not exactly where we want to be as far as FPS, but we're getting somewhere, right? With an M120 spring, not with a stock spring. The interesting thing happened when we tried it in full auto. Now, anyone who's been teching long enough can tell you that in general, when you go from semi to full auto, your FPS drops. And that's not a dramatic drop, but it is a noticeable drop, right? His AEG was doing something different. So with 2.8s in semi, it was shooting 305 FPS. With 2.8s in full auto, it's shooting 375 FPS, which is approximately, if I remember correctly, like 450, 445 FPS on 2.0s, which is outrageous. Mind you, this is shooting 30 RPS at 445 FPS on 2.0s. So the plus side, we've figured it out for the most part, except we can't figure out why it's shooting super hard with on full auto. So we're still trying to figure that out, but at least the gun is good and it's performing. I'm gonna keep working and trying to find out what's going on with it. If any techs see this and have any recommendations for what may be the issue, I'd be happy to know, because I cannot think of any logical reason that there's an FPS spike, and such a big one, between semi and full auto. So if anybody has any ideas, I would love to hear it so that I can finish up that fine-tuning of that AEG. The only difference between this one and other T10s that I've done, because I have done 2 other ones, is that this one has a brushless motor, right? Now it does have Siege Tech gears, which none of mine have, but gears are gears, you know? So I don't see how the gears would really affect that much. Logically speaking, the motor really shouldn't have an effect on it either. But that's the only difference between his T10 and my own. Mine has a brushed motor, 22K ASG boost. His has a Warhead 36K brushless motor. Everything else is literally the same. Well, no, except for his barrel as well. So the things that are different between mine and his are the brushless Warhead motor, the Siege Tech 14:1 gears with the built-in sector delay chip, and he has a 300mm PDI 6.01 barrel, where my AEG, my T10 has the ASG boost 22K motor. It has SHS 16:1s, if I remember correctly, with the sector delay chip, and it has a 300mm 6.03 Prometheus barrel. Everything else is the exact same stuff, and there's just such a big difference in performance. It's kind of baffling, to be honest, because there's no logical reason that I can think of for why his AEG is doing what it's doing. So, any tips, tricks, recommendations, ideas, how I can fix this, let me know. I'd be more than happy to help, and it will definitely help me out in the future, because I plan to do something similar to mine, just based on how his is performing. I mean, the fact that he's doing 440 FPS at 30 RPS, that's pretty ridiculous in my opinion. I don't know if that's normal. I don't know if specialized builds do that, but it's pretty impressive from what I can tell. So, and that's where we're at now with that T10. Hopefully someone somewhere can tell me how to fix it, and then we can really get his AEG up and running the way it should be, performing with FPS anyway, as well as mine, and in pretty much every other category outperforming mine, because the thing is a monster. The thing is an absolute beast, even in semi. It shoots faster than mine. It has better trigger control than mine, trigger response than mine. It feels smoother than mine, which is weird because I did the shimming on both and I use the same process. But you know what? Whatever. It's fine. It's a great gun. We got some kinks to work out, and we'll see what happens.